Welcome back to the She Suite Society, the podcast where we celebrate the real, the raw, and the remarkable journeys of women who chose to bet on themselves. I'm your host, Dahlia, and today we're doing something brand new on She Suite Society for the first time ever. I sat down with one half of a business partner duo. Today, you'll meet Jennifer. In the next episode, you'll meet her partner, and trust me, you're going to want both. Jennifer Harris describes herself as the glue, the person who connects people, systems, emotions, and chaos, and makes it all hold together. And when you hear her career story, you will completely understand why. We're talking interior design, bookkeeping, climbing all the way to CFO at a multinational company, COO, consulting, and then somehow, beautifully, landing in mindfulness retreats. Because Jennifer looked at a world in chaos and decided she wasn't going to just scroll through it. She was going to do something about it. Her mom used to say that life is like a tapestry. I'll let Jennifer explain what that means, but I promise by the end of this conversation, you'll be thinking about the back of your own. Let's get into it.
But no, we're going good. So let's jump into it. I know it's Monday morning, but I like Monday. I don't dread Mondays like everybody else does. I think it's just another day.
Yeah, it's just another day. It really depends what you have that day.
Right, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about you. What do you do? How would you introduce yourself today? What do you say you do?
I am the glue. I am the glue. So that is both connecting people and all of their emotions and all of their messiness and what they want for their own lives. And maybe they don't know what they want for their own lives, but I connect people in companies so they feel heard. And so we're executing the things that they tell us are problems. And I connect systems. So then I know, okay, we need a process for this. We need things to get this done. So I'm the glue. I connect things together. That's really my value that I bring to the world.
You've always been that way?
You know, I feel like as a kid, I was always trying to joke around and get people to laugh, and I was kind of the ham. So I feel like in a way that was, cohesion, or trying to get family members or whoever to come together and joke around about things. I feel like I've always been that person at every company that people talk to. My mom had the same thing. People would come up to her at a store and randomly ask her questions, or they thought she worked there or something. And I had that same thing where people just tell me stuff, and instead of just judging what they're saying based on whatever my thought is, trying to really understand what they're talking about. And I'm a helper. I love helping people. And I like to connect people with other people, and to make sure that people's skills get brought to the top. So
nice. Yeah. Are you an only child?
I'm not. I have an older sister. She is 48, I think now. And she lives in Hawaii. So we don't see her too often, but yeah. She moved out into the Marine Corps when she was, I think, 18. So then she's always lived abroad, works for the government. She's always working in a lot of really cool places around the world.
That's got to be fun to catch up to see what she's been up to.
Yeah, it's she gets to send me pictures of her weekend, and you just see Waikiki Beach outside of her window. So that's not bad, right?
That's not bad at all. Did you grow up here in Ohio?
I'm from the Cleveland area. Originally from Cleveland proper. There's a West 140th Street, which is 140 streets from downtown, the downtown line. And very small home where my parents didn't have a lot of money. So yeah, very small home, didn't have a lot of money. My parents didn't want me to go to public school, in high school. So they moved us out to a suburb called Brunswick, which is an hour and 45 minutes north of here. So yeah, we moved. I went to high school in Brunswick. I think we moved in the third or fourth grade. But yeah,
you did private school.
We did, but my
Was it an all girls private school?
So I went to Ascension. That was I went to a Catholic school.
Oh,
when I was younger, but my parents couldn't afford private school once we moved to the suburb. Plus the schools were fine. So yeah, I did public school from like 3rd or 4th grade on.
I was going to ask.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if I'd been able to handle that for too long.
It's a different world. I was just talking to my
Yeah.
kids. I'm like, it is a different world in private school.
Yeah.
Not a bad one, just different.
Yeah.
Just different. All right. Did you go to college?
I did. I went to Ohio State. I came down. I didn't go to college right away. So apparently my parents went to an assembly at school that I wasn't at where they talked about the FAFSA form and how you could get like the government to pay for school and then you pay them back. I had no idea that was a thing. So I just immediately was like, I can't afford school. My sister went on the GI Bill. So that's why she went in the Marines, because they couldn't pay for school. And then I was working at a restaurant as a server. And somebody told me, well, did you fill out the FAFSA? And I was like, what's that? I have no idea what that is. And so immediately when I found out like I could pay it back later, I did. I got my federal aid and I went to Ohio State. And my sister, who was on, like I said, the GI Bill, was already living in Columbus, going to Ohio State and doing ROTC. So I moved in with her. Yeah, I moved out when I was 19 to go to Ohio State and been here almost the whole time since then.
Really? You've stayed here the whole time?
Yeah, I went back for like a year. But then, then I came back.
What did you do at Ohio State?
A lot.
Were you one of those? I was the same. Where you took like 8 million in 5 different classes?
Oh my God. I think I had like 95 credit hours I couldn't actually use towards my degree when I finally graduated. I had no, are you allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
I had no fucking idea what I wanted to do. So I'd researched nothing. So I was really into photography. And before I came down to Ohio State, what I could afford was a couple classes at the community college. So I went to the community college. I took a photography class. This was film camera, like darkroom, how you're developing your film. I did not research going into photography at Ohio State because I figured I have to take a couple years of like the electives or whatever until I get into my major. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. Well, they had closed down the School of Photography. And you can only be in photography if you were a journalism major. So that was like for a couple years because they were moving everything over to digital.
That makes sense.
I'm 46 if you didn't gather that by this time. So I got to Ohio State and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. They're like, you can't do that unless you're a journalism major. And I did not like writing like in that format. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. So I think I enrolled as a music major and it just ruined music for me. I was like, I really don't want to learn the ins and outs of all of it. Okay, next, like, what am I going to do next? And then somebody was like, I'm a communications major. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but you have to like pick a track so you can kind of like build your schedule. So I'm like, I'm a communications major. I still didn't really know what I wanted to do by like end of second year. And my friend said, I have almost all of the, what are they called? All the classes towards interior design. And I had just redecorated like my bathroom, like at my apartment. And I was like, that sounds fun. So I just said, I'm going to do interior design. And I graduated. And I actually did that as my first job, interior design.
Wow.
Yeah. For about 4.5 years. That's one thing about my life has been totally different careers over time, every few years.
Let's jump into that.
Yeah.
First career, interior design. Love it.
Yes.
What's your takeaway from that one?
Interior design takeaway was you have to level up your communication and your organization when you are FaceTiming with extremely wealthy people. But at the same time, they are the same as you are.
Yeah.
As far as people, they have the same emotions, they have the same fears, people are the same, no matter how much money they had. So I learned how to level up my game, but also how to relate to people who based on my upbringing, I would have been intimidated by. I no longer was intimidated by people that had, 10 times as much money as I had, or well, let's be honest, 1,000 more times as much than I had. One of them was like the C-suite of the limited. So, it was insane. And then I also noticed in interior design, I really enjoyed the process side of it, like the inventory management, the process flow. And I also realized that there's patterns to everything. So even design. So you look at interior design, I'm looking at your background behind you, right? Like there's like some kind of stone component on the left, and then you look, and on the right there's another stone pot back there, both green on both sides. It's about like balance. There's like some light wood, and then there's some softness in those. Everything's like a pattern, and you want to have certain things over here, and maybe you're going to be off balance, but it can't be too off balance. It has to be visually appealing. So even though people think it's an artistic expression, there's patterns to make it pleasing to a person. And same as there's patterns to inventory control or warehouse management or the process of purchase orders. So I really saw that overall, even though creativity is something that a lot of people think is just this right-brained thing, creativity exists in a lot of business. Creativity is really putting things in a pleasing order. That, yeah, I don't know.
That's really cool. No. It's about it's almost like you fell in love with the idea of recognizing all the patterns,
Yeah.
as well as the creative side of it. What'd you do after that? Why did you leave there, and where did you go?
It was a little bit of a toxic work environment, just personally speaking. I learned a lot about passive aggressive leadership style, and I really only understood that that's what it was. I didn't know that that was bad. I mean, I knew that I didn't feel good, but I just thought that's how businesses ran, So I ended up leaving, and I actually drank a lot when I was at that job too. So it just wasn't a healthy environment. And so I left working there, and I had this idea that I was going to move to Hawaii. Like, I'm just going to move to Hawaii. So this is where I moved back to Cleveland to Brunswick for the year. But unfortunately, before I left, I met my now ex-husband I was bartending, and I met him at the bar. And, I'm not saying I would change anything. He wasn't a bad guy. He just wasn't like the best person for me. But I met him. So I went up and lived with my parents for a year and dated him the whole time, got engaged, and then came back to Columbus. So when I was up there, I worked for a design. It was like a high-end furniture store, and I did get design clients through it as well. So I still did some design, did some sales in high-end furniture. And then I moved back in 2008. Which, yeah, fuck my life, right? So I'm like trying to find a job. And I'll tell you, when you're an interior designer, unless you're the owner of the company, you're not making money. They can get interns for hardly anything. A lot of them are women that are dependent on other people, so they don't need to make as much money. I'm like the breadwinner, right? So I come back and I'm like, I need to make a certain amount of money. I had interviewed with design firms. They're like, that's not what you're going to make here. So I got a job as a bookkeeper.
What a shift. What a shift.
And it was really because the company understood my capability, even though I didn't have the skills. They just liked me, I think, as a person. It was a company that had moved from Austria to the United States. It was a technology company, and they were building everything from the ground up. So got a job as a bookkeeper and really relied on our staff in Ukraine to teach me like the difference between a debit and credit. Back to patterns on the wall, I just had like a paper that was like, this is what I need to post. So I learned a lot from the people there. And then they asked me a few months in if I wanted to be in charge of like all the administration for the US office. So we built an HR department, a finance department, administration. And yeah, in 8 years, I became like the top financial person in the multinational company. There's a story there where there was two brothers and a sister, and the CFO was my boss, and he got pushed out of the company by his brother, who was the CEO. Yes. Like I'm locked in my office with the accounting software because they're trying to get to it, to take it. Where the brothers are like in a car driving to the bank to see who can take out money first.
Oh my God, what drama.
Such drama. So when the CFO was sort of kicked out, they were like, who's going to do this job? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, do you want to do it? And I was like, I have no idea even what you're like. I don't even know, other than my one accounting class, like in college, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I said, if you pay me to go back to school, I will figure it out. So I went back to school and I got an accounting certificate. You know, I could have done the whole CPA track, but I really wasn't that into it. Like to just be like an accountant for life.
Yeah.
Because I still need that like internal people figuring stuff out, process, that glue thing. As you can imagine, it got a little toxic there too. And so I mean, I did learn things there. I learned my capability and really like what I could do and how I could move things forward. And I became that glue at that company as well. Made some good friendships and actually met my now husband there. So yeah, what do they say online now? They have this like trend that's like my current husband. You say my current husband in front of your husband.
Oh yeah.
Husband. No, but this one's my soulmate. He is the best. He's a yin to my yang. He is like calm. He's always the same. He's very steady. He's risk adverse, and I'm a little different than that. So I'm glad that I worked there because I would have never met him.
Aw.
And then I was ready to like move on to something else. You know, I've always felt like even though I was on the executive team there, that I wasn't appreciated financially as much as some of the other people were. So I was ready to go. It's hard to grow within one company. You
Why
know,
do they always underpay the people that grow them? I never understood that about business, but they always do that. That's why it's like a catch-22, also a running joke when it's like they call it job hopping,
yeah,
and they get mad at that. I'm like, well, that's the only way people can get paid
it's
more and
true.
what they're worth. It's sad. It's
It's
very
true.
sad.
It's very true. And I mean, it was like to the tune of like a little more than half what the other executives were making. And
Dang.
when you're in charge of payroll, it's hard to see that, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a double slap in the face. That's
Rough.
hard. So you were there for 8 years, did I hear?
Yes, 8 years. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I left around 2014, and there were some changes that were happening there. I wasn't, on board with. I then went to like the best places to work in Columbus because now I'm all about culture. Like I don't even care what I do. Obviously, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
So I had looked, and the Revolution Group was always the top places to work in Columbus, and so I just called them up, and I was like, who's HR, like, do you have any roles available? And like, it's a family owned business. Our CFO is like the owner's husband. So there was no opportunity to continue in finance or HR, but they had a position open to be a finance, basically a trainer on manufacturing software to teach manufacturing companies how to use software in the financial modules. So I just decided to try it. Consulting, it would be traveling. I was kind of interested in like seeing a little bit more of the country. So I, joined them on as a consultant. And then as I do, like I get bored. I already know how to do that. What's next? Then I learn other modules, and I'm a project manager. And then my boss, the accounting manager, wasn't doing it right. So then I was like, I need to do that job. And then it's always about, I get bored. I want to learn more. I want to do more. So then it was, what else can I do? And so one of our owners is retiring. And so she was the COO. So I moved into director of operations, and now I'm the COO. But it's I get bored. I like to do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I like to be really in it. I love to be in the company, helping, figuring stuff out. I get really passionate about making sure things are running smoothly and we're solving problems. And I like to learn. I like to learn.
Could not vibe with you more. I could not be more like you in all those ways.
I figured.
I feel very much the same way. And it's really funny how early on in careers, so for people listening that are like younger, trying to get into business, we're very, I think we were the same in this, ambitious. You just want to get in and grow as much as you can in a company, but then you realize culture matters way more.
Yeah.
And you start looking more for that.
Yes.
And now it's not that you've learned everything, it's just that you know so much. So what do you do with yourself now? And I'm guessing that's when you, very similar to me, just start branching out into your own ventures. Is that fair to say?
It is. And at Revolution Group, I've always been able to say, this is a problem. I think I can solve it. Can I use some of our resources to do it? Can I do it? And they're like, yeah, so I've been given the freedom to be able to exercise that, to stay engaged and to stay interested. Because if not, I would have gone somewhere else. I've never been part of a giant corporation with a bunch of red tape, because I don't think that I can thrive in that scenario. I'm too scrappy for that.
So what'd you do?
What do you mean? What did I do?
What did you do with those the extras that they allowed you, your time, your freedom? You started mindful retreats, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, just within the company, I started to lead a few different groups within our company.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like having freedom within the company. I became certified in this method called the trusted advisor. And, in consulting, 80% of the job is emotional change management, getting people over fear. 20% of it's the thing that they hired you to do. And consultants can be really egg-headed and very brainy and very like, I don't understand why the customer's not understanding what I'm saying. And it's like, because you're not saying it in the way that they can understand. So I started training our internal staff on how to be better consultants and how to be more effective by understanding how people operate and understanding what the elements of building trust are. So I started doing that. I also started innovation teams within our company. All the ideas don't have to come from the top. Like, our people at any level of the company know what's wrong with it. They know what products we need to add. They know the things that we need to do. Why are we putting all of that on us up here to get done? People at any level, and I know this from experience, they want to be engaged in change. So we would have these little incubators of employees that would get together on like a weekly basis and talk and brainstorm through new ideas. And then they actually had to create a business plan. We gave them a template, create a business plan around that idea and present that to the executives. And they could also kind of talk to any of us for any guidance that was needed. But it gave them ownership, because if you can't always increase somebody's salary or you can't always give them a promotion based on how flat the company is, you can at least get them more engaged and give them something more to work on. And at the end of the day, you have a new product or you have a new process. So definitely at work, I've had some opportunity for growth and expansion and sort of having my own programs within the company. And then, yes, I started mindful retreats. Trying not to sound too political here, but the world is in chaos and there's only yourself and your community to control or to change. And you can scroll, and I don't have my phone next to me, but you can scroll and see everything that's going on every day and sit there and scroll for 3 hours every day, or you can do something to change it. And I just realized I needed to do something that brings a little bit more connectedness, centeredness to the world. And by that, I mean to myself as well. So I threw a retreat with a friend and I just funded a retreat. I paid for the place we were going to have it, the food, the practitioners to come. We had, what did we have at the first retreat? I think we had yoga and a sound bath, I think. And journaling and time to yourself and facilitation. And I flopped because I had zero time to do pictures, or I didn't have any success stories. I didn't have any videos. I didn't have any pictures. So I decided to just give away 80% of the tickets that I didn't sell. I gave them away for free to women in our community that are doing just awesome work. There's a woman that runs a PAC that is to get more women in politics. So 100%, like I want her there. A woman who was the president of a Columbus school board who runs a nonprofit downtown. I want her there. I want these women that need a break and need time. And it was such a beautiful experience. These women laughed, we cried, we shared stories. We truly had like a day of rest together. And it's 8 hours on a Friday. You can be home for dinner. You can like be home with your kids in the evening. And it's $200. Yeah. So it's a passion project. I'm not making like a ton of money on this, like really any money at this point. It's really for me to spend time being more present. We're bringing in women-owned businesses that are holistic practitioners, women that have stories to tell, education to give. We're bringing them all together for this retreat. And so we had the one in December. We had one in February that sold out, and our May one is about to sell out. I think we have like 2 tickets left. So yeah, it's fun. Now we're moving into the corporate space where we will do the same format. Like you want a restorative retreat for your top customers, your highest donors, your, executives, teams that you want to thank. And we also do team building type experiences where we pair learning and workshop or team building experiences also with a holistic practice. So it's kind of an alternative team building experience. So we're getting into that space. Right now, I'm looking for more time to grow that side of the business, which I'm working on. So you'll hear more soon on that. Not today. But yeah, so the retreat business has been a lot of fun with a lot of interest, and I'm really excited to explore that.
I think everybody can relate to how heavy the world feels and how easy it is to get sucked into the negative thinking. So I love that you're doing that. Awesome. I'll definitely be joining one of them at some point in life.
Good.
I tend to end every episode the same. And I know 30 minutes always flies by. But the question I always end with is, what advice would you give to somebody that's listening, especially you who has lived also 8 million lives and is very interested in a lot of different things? We're always told like you have to pursue one or go after one and give it all you've got. And I'm not saying that should be your advice, but you're like a living embodiment of somebody who said, screw that. I'm living my life as I'm going to. And then you just made it what you wanted. Almost, I know you didn't sound like you had a lot of stress doing it, but I know you did. There's no way you didn't. Otherwise, you wouldn't have started mindfulness retreats.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So what advice would you give to somebody listening?
So my mom passed away a few years ago, and she used to say that your life is like a tapestry. So the very front of it looks like it's all put together. It's perfect. And it paints this story that's very clear. But then when you flip it over, it's a mess, right?
Yeah.
And so everything we do is who we are. All the mistakes that you make, all the successes that you have, the people that you share your life with are all part of your journey. And on the front, to everybody, social media, LinkedIn, anything, it's always going to look like a certain, one sentence line of who you are as a person. But when you flip it over and you look at everything that makes you who you are, that's who you are as a person, is all the threads going from one side of the tapestry to the other. And it's not going to make sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to you. So I will say, whether it's in leadership or anything else, like it's not a place that you reach, and it's not even a place that you start other than when you're born. And everything that you learn and everything that you do is part of your journey. And when you look back, you'll realize how the skills that you've learned over time, even happenstance or randomly, how that plays a role in what you're doing today. And you'll realize that you are created and you are creating who you are, and that you're never a one-line sentence. Like you're always this mix of all the things that have happened over time. And, people might have regrets, but you don't need them, because it's who you are. So that's all I would say, is as I have jumped around, I've always been curious and I've always wanted to learn, and I'm interested in adding more messy threads to the back of my tapestry.
I love that. You couldn't have said it any better. I've never heard that, and I really am grateful that you shared that. That was
Thanks,
amazing.
Jennifer, thank you. I walked away from this one with so much to think about, and I know our listeners did too. If today resonated with you, please reach out to Jennifer and look into her mindfulness retreats. 8 hours on a Friday, home for dinner, home with your kids, and a full day of rest, intention, and real connection in between. Her details are in the show notes. I would encourage you to go get tickets to her next one. And here's what I want you to carry out of this episode. Flip your tapestry over. All those messy threads, the detours, the unexpected pivots, the chapters that never made sense at the time. That is who you are. And it's more beautiful than the front side ever could be. Now, we're not done with this duo. Next episode, you'll hear from Jennifer's business partner. And from everything I've heard, you do not want to miss it. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. If this episode moved you, share it. Send it to someone who needs a reminder that her nonlinear path is not a flaw. It's the whole point. Leave us a review. Spread the word. This community grows one share at a time, and I'm so grateful you're here. Remember, your life is your story to tell. Why not make it extraordinary? Until next time, I'm Dahlia. Thanks for being here.